Microdosing life. Microdosing is a pretty common term. Gets thrown around a lot these days. In case for some reason you haven't come across what it means, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll go in anyway. It's when you take a little bit of something and you take it on the regular rather than having a big amount of something over one night. Usually it's to do with, I won't beat around the bush. Usually it's to do with, when people refer to microdosing, it's to do with psychedelics. So sometimes people will take a little bit of LSD or mushrooms and, they'll just have a tiny little bit and not enough that they get into any sort of, really trip out state, or we're tripping out and, getting hallucinations and visuals, more just so that you just get a tiny little bit of a buzz and you ride this wave. It's like it allows you to tip into a flow state easier. I'm not saying anyone should do this. I'm not saying anyone shouldn't do this either. I'm just saying it's something I do regularly. Just leave it at that. I find it has a very similar effect for me. I'm not saying anyone, not saying how much or what to do or anything, but for me it has a very similar effect for when I have like a Dexy. It helps me just like channel my thoughts, and I have ADD, so like everyone else does in 2025, every single person has ADD or is autistic. They got something going on in the brain. But yeah, I definitely have ADD, and my thoughts just spiral. I just have loads and loads of things just spinning around at once. I'll talk about that more in another one, but the microdosing side of things, for me, when I microdose, it seems to soothe those thoughts, and I'm able to focus on one task at a time, and it's not all just spinning around at once, like when I have a Dexy. But a Dexy is a little bit more, feels more pharmaceutical, it feels more chemically driven and a bit speedy at times. Like sometimes you get a bit chattery, and later on towards the end, like sort of the last quarter of the Dexy being effective, get that, you want to grind your teeth a little bit. But they are super effective for just helping me focus and get things done. But with mushrooms, microdosing, I feel like it doesn't have that real speedy effect. I don't feel like this chemical come down either. I just feel like a mellow wave of flow come on, and I'm able to, instead of being like, charged and doing stuff and getting them done, which is great, it's more of it comes from a calmer state, much more relaxed. I'm perceiving things in a really nice way, and just in a flow with life. And then when a task comes my way, I'm able to, just approach it and get it done without any distractions. So that's the effects of microdosing for me, and just like, and doing that ongoing just has like a really soothing effect for my mind. It's very therapeutic. So microdosing your life, though, is in terms of, with photography, I use this approach a lot, like microdosing. Some days, I've spoken about this in the past, I used to have the luxury of just going out for hours on end and just shoot. And I don't have that anymore. So by doing a little bit every day, it's like my little fix. It's just like I get a little bit sharper. I stay in the loop of everything, with what's going on in terms of like, my muscle memory and training my eye for everything. I'm able to stay focused, and, like when I pick up a camera, I'm not like, it's, there's a bit of attachment from what I'm doing. I'm still in that zone from microdosing shooting. So yeah, just carrying my camera around, taking a couple of photos each day. It just allows me to be in a flow state constantly of shooting. So when it does come time to shoot, I'm already dialed in. I'm ready to go. I use that term a lot, dialed in, because I use it for coffee, and I think it's just a great term for anything else in life. So yeah, the idea of microdosing something like photography for me is like, right, I'm not going to have these big blast offs, if you will. some nights I go out and shoot, and I'm shooting for a couple of hours, or some days, sorry, like if it's a professional shoot, could be out for 3 to 4 hours, and that's a longer shoot, and then treat that as like that was a big night kind of thing, like you're having a fair crack, you're giving it a nudge, but then on the offside of that, you're just microdosing life. You're just chipping away. You're not overloading yourself with it. You're keeping it fun. You're keeping it in your flow state for everything. Everything's still second nature and muscle memory. So, when you're microdosing photography, you're just picking up the camera, and then I might shoot my daughter playing, whatever, running around the house doing something. She's always doing something that's dynamic, and it's training the eye for just life and spur of the moment things that you need to be quick for. And then just walking down the street, having the camera on me, like there might be something that comes up, or driving, having the camera on the passenger seat in case something comes up and I can pull over, or I'll pull the car over and take a photo through the window or something. But just that microdosing approach is just, for me, always having the camera on me, and then that allows me just to dip in when I need to and take a photo without there being any sort of lag, if you will. And again, this can be for everything. So if you want to play guitar, I think it's good, like when you reach a certain level, like intermediate to high level, like when you start microdosing things in this sense, because you want to get to a level where you're competent. You don't want to be just like picking it up when you're still learning and only doing it for a minute at a time. It's going to take a really long time to get anywhere. But once you reach a certain level and you're confident and competent, then the approach of microdosing is really, I think, really effective for staying in tune and just constantly refining without overloading yourself. So yeah, anyway, that's microdosing life. Oh, sorry, I was staying with the guitar. So say you've been playing guitar for a few years, and then life gets in the way. You're working more. You've got all these other priorities in life coming in, and you have less time to play guitar. You've been playing 3 or 4 years. You know what you're doing. If you pick it up and play 5 to 20 minutes a night, it's not like playing for hours a night, but you're still training your hands, you're still training your ears, your mind is still in sync with everything, so you can easily just tap in. Whereas if you played for like 2 hours, like once a fortnight, in between that time spent in between while you're not doing anything, it's going to be harder to jump back in. And not just for music, for photography. If you're training jiu-jitsu, obviously you can't really it's a bit harder to microdose jiu-jitsu, but the philosophy is still there. Like if you go down, you can only get in a roll. Some places might not like that, but you can only get in a roll half the class, towards the end. Doing that is better than just like, if you did that a few times a week, is better than just going in once a month and rolling for 4 hours. You're not gonna. It's not gonna sync up with your mind. Your body's not gonna. You're not gonna flow properly. So yeah, my advice for microdosing is have a nudge to start with, and then dial back. And then by a nudge I mean get reasonably competent and comfortable in what you're doing, and then that will give you the times when you do microdose, you can make little adjustments and little refinements and stay in tune with what's going on. So, microdose life. Tell me I'm right, tell me I'm wrong, like and subscribe.